Happy Thursday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Head to any Circle K Arizona location where you can get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents. Now through September 3rd, I am Anthony Totri, joined as always by Danielle. Behind the
just like the good old days. It's just you and me.
We did that for months. Just me and Danielle making the train go. Shane, Eric, not with us today. They've got other things to take care of. We got Sweet Prince Kenny in the chat, B-Cat, Lukester. We appreciate everybody hopping in. We got a lot to get into. So definitely buckle up. Chat, with it being just me today, would appreciate any and all comments from all of y'all, so I have a little bit of something to work off of here. But again, do me a solid. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Also, one more plug here. We just got back from Big 12 Media Day, so do us a solid. Subscribe to PHNX Sports. Go through the little playlist that we got for Arizona State. Check out all the interviews that we had with Arizona State coach Kenny Dillingham, Arizona State safety Xavier Alford, edge rusher Clayton Smith, and then some of the national media. Stuart Mandel of The Athletic, Bruce Feldman of Fox Sports. The list goes on and on. But look, was that Big 12 Media Day, and there was obviously a lot going on. Very first day, 8 teams, Arizona State included. Day 2, 8 teams, but I'll tell you what, being there, it felt like there was only 2. In reality, it felt like everybody wanted to talk about Colorado. Everybody wanted to talk about the Arizona Wildcats. And really, on day 2, I'm going to be honest, I didn't see much from any of those other programs. But that doesn't mean that there weren't whispers from around Allegiant Stadium. We heard a lot. We heard some stuff that I'll tell you is true, and we heard some stuff that I'll tell you that's false. And I'll tell you what, I heard a lot more false stuff than I did true stuff. But that's kind of life, isn't it, Danielle? Hear a lot more lies than truths, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's just the way the
especially when it comes to sports.
Oh yeah, everybody thinks that their team's the greatest and that their rival is the worst. But I'm here to tell you, we're gonna keep it totally unbiased today, or at least I'm gonna do my best. Okay, Lukester in the chat. Colorado sucks. They're going 3-9. Hey man, I mean, to each their own. We'll get into Colorado. We got some comments from Shedeur Sanders at the tail end of this program, and you know damn well that I got something to say about what Shedeur had to say at Big 12 Media Day. But let's go ahead. Let's get into our truths and our lies, starting with one that might shock some people, but this is what I heard from a lot of national media out there. Is Iowa State the sleeper team in the Big 12? I'm here to tell you that that is absolutely true. And look, Iowa State brings back, I believe, the most returning starters of a team in the Big 12, which is absolutely massive at any level of football. Being able to maintain and retain some level of consistency in your roster, especially in a day and age where you do have players left and right considering their options because of NIL, because of the transfer portal. The list goes on and on. Rocco Becht, the quarterback for the Iowa State Cyclones, is one of my favorite players in this conference. I was actually talking to a Big 12 player earlier today, gave me a call and just wanted to kind of chat about some stuff that we heard over at Big 12 Media Day. And again, Rocco Becht came up in that conversation heading into what's going to be, I believe, his redshirt sophomore season, I believe. Played a little bit in 2022, not too much. And then 2023 was really his year. Completed 62.9% of his passes, threw for a little bit over 3,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, 8 INTs. He's got a great build for a quarterback at 6'1", 205. And if you really watch Rocco Becht last season, you can definitely see there are little kinks in his game for a young quarterback. But at the end of the day, this kid has stepped up to be the guy at Iowa State. And look, Brock Purdy was the guy at Iowa State not too long ago. And look what he's doing for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not sitting here telling you that Rocco Becht is just a few years away from leading a team to the Super Bowl. But I will tell you that Rocco Becht is a surgical quarterback that is only shown to get better throughout his time at Iowa State. I genuinely believe that Iowa State is a sleeper team, especially when you talk about some of the upper echelon teams in this conference that a lot of the national media seem to be falling in love with. We'll get into those teams a little bit later on. But again, Iowa State being the sleeper team in this conference is something that I think is true. You look at what Matt Campbell did to the Iowa State Cyclones last season. They went 7-6 overall. They went bowling. They lost the Liberty Bowl. But Matt Campbell's in an interesting position this year. He's been coaching at Iowa State since 2016. First couple years, not great, back-to-back 3-9 seasons. Then followed in 2017, 2018 by some 8-5 years. His best season as coach was in 2020. They went 9-3. Last year, as I said, 7-6. The year before that, 4-8. And the year before that, in 2021, 7-6. So this is going to be a big year, in my estimation, for Matt Campbell. You return your starting quarterback in Rocco Becht. You've got a lot of returning starters on both sides of the football, and teams aren't even talking about you. Matt Campbell, you need to do better than 7-6. You got the roster to do it, and that's part of the reason why I believe this is a sleeper team in the Big 12. Let's go ahead and move on to a player of a team that a lot of people, like I said earlier, are starting to fall in love with, and that is the Arizona Wildcats. So, is Tetairoa McMillan the best skill player in the Big 12? Now, look, if you talk about Tetairoa McMillan's game last year, there's not a lot that you can really take away from it. Had 90 catches, over 1,400 receiving yards, averaged 15 yards per catch, had 10 touchdowns. Mind you, he's 6'5", 210 pounds. He is an absolute specimen for the Arizona Wildcats, and it helps that he's catching passes from a pretty good quarterback in Noah Fafita, okay? I know I'm not supposed to say it, but Noah Fafita and T-Mac, they're a pretty damn good duo. And T-Mac's a pretty damn good wide receiver, but I'm here to tell you the answer to that question is false. Tetairoa McMillan is not the best skill player in this conference. The best skill player in this conference is Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon, running back at Oklahoma State. Short Bus brings up another phenomenal talent, and that is Travis Hunter at Colorado. Travis Hunter obviously playing both sides of the ball, wide receiver and defensive back. Interested to see the usage of him this season. But getting back to Ollie Gordon, take away the stuff off the field. Okay? We don't need to talk about the off the field stuff when we're talking strictly on the field stuff. And Ollie Gordon is that guy. In an age where running backs, their shelf life is a couple seasons, Ollie Gordon had his breakout year last year. 285 carries, 1,732 rushing yards. 1,700 rushing yards for a college running back in 2024. Are you kidding me? 21 touchdowns on the ground, had 39 catches, 330 yards, and a touchdown through the air. Ollie Gordon is the best skill player in this conference, okay? EA Sports agrees with me, by the way, in their overall ratings. Ollie Gordon got a higher rating than Travis Hunter did, and Travis Hunter's on the goddamn cover of that football game. So I get it. Travis Hunter is going to be drafted higher when it's all said and done in the NFL draft. I understand why Travis Hunter is a lot of people's favorite skill player, because he's on the most polarizing team, not just in the Big 12, not just on this side of the Mississippi, but in the whole damn country, and that's with Colorado. Travis Hunter is a talented player, but when it comes to best skill guy, it's not Tetairoa McMillan. It's not Travis Hunter. It's Ollie Gordon, okay? And I'll take that to the damn bank. Turn on the tape. Didn't fumble last season, which, again, 285 carries. If I asked you to do something perfectly 285 times, could you do it? Well, Ollie Gordon did just about that. Again, 1,700 rush yards, 22 total touchdowns. Again, T-Mac's a solid wide receiver, okay? We saw him at Big 12 Media Day. He talked with Mike Luke, Saul Bookman of PHNX Wildcats. Definitely tap in. Go look at that interview that they did with him. They're great dudes. They're really good football players. But I'm just here to tell you that Ollie Gordon is better. And I think that's fair. Moving on to our third question from Big 12 Media Day. Is Kansas State a top 3 team in the Big 12? Well, a lot of people are talking about Kansas State like they're that damn good, right? The question is, are they? Well, I think before you can evaluate Kansas State as potentially being a top 3 team, you got to look at some of the other teams that potentially are in that same upper echelon. You've got Kansas, you got Utah, you got the Arizona Wildcats, you got Oklahoma State. I would say those 4 teams plus Kansas State are your cream of the crop when it comes to Big 12 football, okay? So I'm going to immediately, from those top 3, I'm going to take away Oklahoma State. I don't think Oklahoma State's entire roster is there quite yet, okay? I love what Ollie Gordon has done in terms of on-the-field stuff. Mike Gundy is a hell of a coach, sometimes put his foot in his mouth from time to time, as we saw at Big 12 Media Day. But I don't think they're a top 3 team in this conference. Now, I think Arizona's a top 3 team in this conference. I think Kansas is a top 3 team in this conference. So we're between Utah and Kansas State, and I'm going to take Utah every damn day of the week. So no, that is false. Kansas State is not a top 3 team in this conference. I know there's a lot of people that really like quarterback Avery Johnson, and rightfully so. You look at Avery Johnson as potentially one of the best quarterbacks in this conference, but he hasn't played a whole season, right? 2023, only completed 37 passes, only attempted 66, completed 56% of his passes, 479 yards, and 5 touchdowns, okay? So, again, this is a kid that has to put it all together. He's got to be out there the same way that Noah Fafita at Arizona had to do it. Okay, nobody is crowning and nobody crowned the Arizona Wildcats as being a really good football team immediately when Noah Fafita was there, even before Fafita played, even during his one game, right? So when you, again, look at what Avery Johnson did, and there were spurts throughout the season, right? Got action in several games. His main body of work was against NC State, okay? Bowl game. That is a game that Kansas State won 28-19, 14-31 passing, $178 through the air, 2 touchdowns, no INTs, 71 yards on the ground and a touchdown. That's pretty damn good. I mean, body of work for one game, right? He's a great quarterback, but I don't think this team is there yet, okay? From my understanding, there's a good chunk of that offensive staff that is different. So it should be a little bit of a transition for Kansas State. Now, certainly they could be there, right? I can understand why people want to say Kansas State is that level of team, but I'll tell you what, you line them up right now, Utah is they're beating the shit out of them, okay? And I think Utah is doing that to the majority of the conference. I think Arizona has more weapons than Kansas State. And I think Kansas, I understand why people think they're a little bit of a wild card, but I'm taking Jalon Daniels over Avery Johnson every day of the week. And that Kansas secondary, mind you, is pretty damn good. So I'm excited for that game this season. But no, I don't believe Kansas State is a top 3 team in this conference. Look, we're going to continue with our truths and our lies. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. Look, we're talking about truths today. And Here's one for you. Desert Financial is the official retail banking partner of Arizona State University. And look, they are king of consistency. They've been doing it for more than 84 years. They've been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. If you're an Arizona sports fan, there is no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. It is the only place that you could show your team spirit every time you make a purchase with exclusive debit cards branded with your favorite teams. Bring the boom and get fired up with the Arizona State University Visa debit card. Now is the time to show your ASU team spirit. Open a free checking account online and get $200 plus your choice of 3 Arizona State University Visa debit cards. Go to desertfinancial.com/ASU to get started. We're going to get to some comments here in a second, but again, you could trust me when I tell you Desert Financial Credit Union has your back. And look, I just got back from Las Vegas last night, straight from Allegiant Stadium to the airport, back to Sky Harbor, back to Arizona. I'll tell you what, it's hot as hell these days. It's hot in Vegas. It's hot in Arizona. It's hot in the majority of the United States. But that doesn't mean you should stay out of the sun, right? Go get your tan, go hang out by the pool, go golfing, go to a local bar, local brewery with your friends like 4’s. Hang out inside or outside and enjoy a refreshing 4’s brew. Danielle, do you have a favorite? I know me, Shane, and Eric are always talking about our favorites. I love the peach ale. Do you have a favorite 4’s beer?
I have a favorite 4’s item.
Ooh, let's hear it. Please be the attendees.
Beer batter fries.
Ooh.
Beer batter fries with Chipotle ranch. You kidding me?
Oh, God, that sounds good. Their Chipotle ranch is fire.
It's so good.
It really is
so good.
Look, I'm a big fan of the chicken tenders, and no, I'm not a 5-year-old. Look, those are great whether you are 5 or you are 45. Those chicken tenders slap. Their drinks, obviously, are incredible. So be sure to follow them on social at 4’s Brew and at 4’s Pub to keep up with the latest on Arizona's premier craft brewery. Again, visit 4peaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at 4’s Brew, at 4’s Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. You do got to be 21 or older to drink 4’s. Please drink responsibly. House of Heat sports fan Brent Brennan is going to be the next Rich Rod. KD is going to own him. Wow. Absolutely just wow. Howcat in the chat, your isolated Pac-12 perspective is showing through. I'd love for you to elaborate on that, because I look at the Pac-12 over the last 3 seasons and I look at the Big 12 over the last 3 seasons. And the best teams in this conference year over year, Texas, Oklahoma, are gone. The teams that dominated the Pac-12 over the last couple of seasons, Utah, USC, Washington. Now, USC and Washington obviously moved on to the Big Ten. Utah in the Big 12. Year over year, Utah's in the AP Top 25. They've been bowling, I want to say, 9 of the last 10 seasons. I could be wrong on that. And they've dominated the majority of that Pac-12 conference. And look, last season, Utah took it to some of the best teams in the nation. We're talking Oregon, Washington. Oregon State was a top 25 team. And what? Utah beat them. Now, I know Utah wasn't undefeated, right? Utah lost the Pac-12 championship, I believe, last season. But overall, Utah has won 2 of the last 3 Pac-12 championships. That says a whole hell of a lot about what Kyle Whittingham has in Salt Lake City, and that is a dominant program. Hugh Cat, again, in the chat, I believe he's a Kansas State fan, which probably makes sense. Utah is a top 3 team, as is Kansas State. The 3rd team could be Zona, the Squawks, or the Pokes. I guess we will see. Short Bus in the chat with my favorite comment of the day. Hit that like button. We appreciate everybody stopping by today. Again, we're going to continue with our truths and lies here in a second. But first, want to tell you guys, head over to gophnx.com. Okay, sign up to become a die hard. And I'm going to tell you right now, everything that you are going to unlock. Okay, gophnx.com, click the little die hard tab, and boom, you're going to get a Die Hard membership card. You're going to get a free t-shirt of your choice from the PHNX locker, which goes crazy. You're going to have access to all of our premium written content, which also goes crazy. You're going to get discounts on all of our events. And my favorite, entrance to the Die Hard Discord. Okay, it is a community there, whether you're an Arizona State fan, an Arizona fan. We're talking Big 12 football, basketball every single day of the week, every single week of the year. That's just what we do. We're sickos, okay? We love our sports, and if you do too, that Die Hard Discord lounge is where you need to be. Again, head to gophnx.com, click that little Die Hard tab, and right there is going to tell you everything that you need. Okay, front runner in the chat saying UCF almost beat a full OU team in Norman. AZ beat a depleted OU. Well, look, and bowl season is so unique now, right? Because of the transfer portal, you do have players bouncing. You got a lot of people opting out of bowl games because they don't want to get hurt when they're headed to the NFL draft. And the list kind of goes on and on. You got coaching changes. You got so much going on during bowl season that I can understand that thought process, right? But if I'm not mistaken, Oklahoma was up in that game at one point over the Arizona Wildcats, and they got it done. They came back, and they found a way to get the win. Now, again, I understand Arizona's got a new coach in Brent Brennan, okay? So I totally get that. But at the end of the day, that's still a damn good football team when you bring back your number one wide receiver and you bring back your quarterback, who, again, I believe is a really talented quarterback despite being undersized. And T-Mac is the best wide receiver in college football. I don't care what anybody says. So take that for what you will. Let's go ahead and let's move on to our fourth question, and that has to do with our local team here. Is Arizona State the worst team in the Big 12? Well, the Big 12 preseason media poll said so. Okay, we talked to some media members on a national basis, and I asked them straight up, hey, did you vote? Did you vote for Arizona State to be the worst team in this conference? A couple of them said, yeah. Straight up. We had somebody tell me straight up, yes, I voted Arizona State to finish 16th in this conference. And I asked them why. I said, why do you think that Arizona State is the worst team in this conference? And they're like, well, you have to look at the middle of the pack in this conference. We could talk about Texas Tech. We could talk about UCF. And their response was, hey, those teams got better. But just because you get better doesn't mean you immediately rise above the teams that are already really good, right? Nobody's putting Texas Tech or UCF above Kansas State or Kansas or Arizona or Utah, despite getting better. You have to go out there and prove that. Now, we cover Arizona State every day here, right? So we see and we talk to the players, we talk to the coaches, we have an understanding of what is going on with this roster, what is going on with this coaching staff, okay? We talked to Kenny Dillingham. I listened to what what Houston's coach had to say, what Cincinnati's coach had to say. And I guess Cincinnati has a couple players here or there. Arizona State is not the worst team in this conference. That is absolutely false. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why Arizona State is not the worst team in this conference. So go get some Q-tips, clean all the shit out your ears so I can tell you that this team is going to surprise some people. Okay, I don't think this team goes 3-9. Last year, that team went 3-9. And you look who they had to play. They had to play USC, who had the first overall pick in Caleb Williams. Mind you, USC, what they do last season with that top player. Okay, you look at Washington. Arizona State had Washington on the ropes for 3 quarters, and a pick 6 really kind of put that away. If you didn't know, Washington made it to the national championship game. Lost to Michigan. Utah, which I told you has been a dominant team in the Pac-12 for the last decade. Guess what? ASU had to play them. Bo Nix and the Oregon Ducks, which went back and forth with Washington all season long. A very, very good football team. Oregon, a favorite to be in the college football playoff this season. Definitely going to make some noise in that Big Ten. The Arizona Wildcats, a team that we're talking about being a top 3 contender in the Big 12. They had Jed Fish last year. Probably a top 10 coach in college football. In T-Mac and Noah Fafita. That was a good football team. So what I'm trying to tell you is this is a team in Arizona State that went 3-9 last season and had to play juggernaut after juggernaut after juggernaut after juggernaut. It's an ASU team that won 3 games last year. One of those wins came against a ranked UCLA team that had a defensive line that was up there with one of the best in college sports. And Kenny Dillingham's offensive line was so banged up that there were points in the year where they couldn't practice both sides of the football because they didn't have enough healthy bodies out there. They didn't have enough healthy bodies against Washington to go kick a field goal, to run field goal. They had defensive tackles the following week in practice, running special teams because they were that injured. They played 4 or 5 different quarterbacks last season. Cam Scadaboo, the starting running back for your Arizona State Sun Devils, played quarterback at one point last season. Jalen Conyers, the tight end at Arizona State last season, now the tight end for Texas Tech, played quarterback at certain points last season. And that team beat a ranked UCLA team. How'd they do it? Because Kenny Dillingham is a football sicko. He's a mad scientist. Cracked open the old dusty history of college football and said, how in the hell are we going to stop these 2 edge rushers at UCLA? Let's run the fucking swinging gate. And that got him a win. That got Arizona State a win. So the reason that Arizona State is not going to be the worst team in this conference doesn't really have to do with anything on the roster. Mind you, in my estimation, this roster got better. But the reason that Arizona State is not going to be the worst team in this conference is because Arizona State doesn't have the worst coach in this conference. Kenny Dillingham understands football. Kenny Dillingham understands how to get the most out of his football players. They're building something at Arizona State. And it's not at the floor anymore. Okay? This Arizona State team didn't finish at the bottom of the Pac-12 last season. You know who did? CU. I'm not saying they're going to finish at the bottom now. I'm just telling you right now that Arizona State, whether they finish 10, 11, 12, 13, 9, 6, 7, they might. But I'll tell you one thing for damn sure. This team is not going to finish at 16. It is not fucking happening. I promise you that. So the answer to that question, again, is Arizona State the worst team in the Big 12? No. That is absolutely 1,001% false. Okay? Just putting that out there now. Chad Johnson in the chat, don't worry about ASU. It'll be like another bye week for everyone. Absolutely. Head into that game with that mentality. All those teams on that schedule. UCF, Kansas, Utah. Do it. Kansas State. Head into that game as if it's just another bye week. Clayton Smith said it at Big 12 Media Day on the show. Stay on that side of the fence. Stay on that side of the fence. And make sure that the apology is as loud as the disrespect. Just going to put that out there. Moving on to a question that I know is going to irritate that Kansas State fan that we had in the chat a little bit earlier, and probably a lot of the Big 12 fans that don't believe that these 4 Pac-12, former Pac-12 teams are going to do a whole lot in this conference. And that is Utah the team to beat in the Big 12? Well, Kyle Whittingham is the best coach in this conference. You look at the history of what the Utah Utes have done over the last 10 years, they've been one of the best and most consistent football programs, not just in the Pac-12, not just in the West Coast, but in the entire nation. And you could argue that last year was a down year for that team. A down year for Utah. And they went 8-5. And at one point, they were ranked number 10 in the AP top 25. They were number 10, and they had a bad season. They lost the Las Vegas Bowl. I get it. We could talk about that. We could talk about Kyle Whittingham and Utah's inability to close the door and go get a dub when it comes to bowl season. But this is a team that finds ways to go bowling every year. Okay? 2023, Las Vegas Bowl. 2022, Rose Bowl. 2021, Rose Bowl. 2020, the year, the world kind of fucking shut down. That was the one year over the last 10 that Utah didn't make a bowl game. That's kind of fucking crazy when you think about it. The consistency of what Kyle Whittingham builds is not something to be disrespected. This team year over year is one of the best in college football, one of the top 25 year over year. They find ways to get it done. Kyle Whittingham has an SEC mentality with his team. What do they do in the SEC? Well, they line you up Saturday morning, bright and early, in a 3-point stance, offensive line, defensive line, and they beat your ass. That's what Utah does. And so for the Big 12 teams that think that Utah is going to come over and play with a Pac-12 mentality, we're going to spread it 4 wide, and we're just going to throw the football with Cam Rising, I tell you what, you got another thing coming. Because when Utah heads to Stillwater, lines up against Oklahoma State, or they head to Orlando to play UCF, or TCU maybe travels to Salt Lake City, you're going to be matched up, not against one of the best teams in the Pac-12. You're going to be lined up against one of the hardest working, biggest, most physically imposing teams in the nation, coached by one of the most underrated college football coaches in the history of this sport. So is Utah the team to beat in the Big 12? Yeah, Utah is absolutely the team to beat in the Big 12. And for those of you that don't think that Utah is the team to beat in the Big 12, all I got to say is you better hope your team doesn't have to play Utah this season. Because to add fuel to the fire, Kyle Whittingham isn't going to be the coach of the Utah Utes for much longer. There's a little bit extra motivation for the Utah Utes to go out there and find a way to a Big 12 championship, to find their way to a college football playoff. Arizona State, they got to play Utah this year. That's going to be tough. You know who Arizona State also has to play back-to-back with Utah? Got to play Kansas. I think Kansas is going to be a damn good football team. I really do. And there's a lot of people talking about Devin Neal, the running back at Kansas. A lot of people talking about that secondary at Kansas. And there's a lot of people talking about the quarterback at Kansas. So, is Jalon Daniels a top 3 quarterback in the Big 12? Well, when we talked about Kansas State, right, potentially being a top 3 team in this conference, what do we have to do? We had to look at the other potential top 3 teams in the conference. So we got to kind of do the same thing when we're talking about quarterbacks. So who are some of the best quarterbacks in this conference? Well, we started off the show talking about Iowa State's Rocco Becht. I think he's a damn good quarterback. We already talked about Kansas State's Avery Johnson. I think he's a talented quarterback. The Arizona Wildcats got Noah Fafita. Noah Fafita is a damn good quarterback. Well, who's the highest rated quarterback at EA Sports College Football 25? Coming out of the Big 12 is Shedeur Sanders, Colorado quarterback. I think Shedeur Sanders is a pretty good quarterback. DeQuan Finn, the Toledo transfer, I believe he's at Baylor now. Not a lot of people talking about him. I don't think he is a top 3 quarterback. I think he's pretty good. Kev with another one. KJ Jefferson, the Arkansas transfer at UCF. We saw him the other day, and I'll tell you what, Kev, he's a big-ass dude. He looks like he could be playing linebacker. Okay? KJ Jefferson is a good quarterback too. There are a lot of good quarterbacks in this league. And when people talk about Jalon Daniels over the last couple seasons, it's, well, he's got the potential, but he gets hurt. He gets hurt a lot, right? A lot. Jalon Daniels is a top 3 quarterback in the Big 12. Okay? Jalon Daniels, from what we've seen in spurts, can be one of the best quarterbacks in this country. I think. He's got the size. He's got the athleticism. He's got the arm. He's got the brain. Can we stay on the field? Can we stay on the field? And now, if he can stay on the field, Well, now what? Now you got a team with a really good quarterback, a really good running back, a very, very promising secondary. Got to watch out. You got a damn good football team. But can Jalon Daniels stay on the field? I think he will this season. And I think Jalon Daniels is a top 3 quarterback in the Big 12. So, yeah, that's true in my estimation. And I really don't think there's any other way that you could put it. Sweet Prince Kenny in the chat. There is some really good quarterback play in this conference. Absolutely. Right? You can go through the list. Rocco Becht, he's returning at Iowa State. He's going to get better. Avery Johnson going into a full season as the guy at Kansas State. A lot of people expect him to be good. Interested to see how he adapts with some of that new staff at Kansas State. DeQuan Finn, again, the transfer from Toledo to Baylor. I watched him play firsthand. I think he's a good quarterback. Okay, now is he great? Probably not. Is he good? Is he talented? Is he athletic? Yeah. Noah Fafita. He's undersized. He's a good quarterback. KJ Jefferson. He's a good quarterback. And I'm missing guys, right? That's how many good quarterbacks, talented quarterbacks, are in this conference. So certainly, Chad Johnson in the chat. Just remember, Rising went to Texas before transferring to Utah, so he was in the Big 13 before. Not that it matters, but just funny. Cam Rising, another quarterback we didn't even talk about. Still the best hair in the Big 12. Avery Johnson's giving him a run for his money. Avery's got some locks, too. I didn't know he had all that just rocking back there. That's crazy. That's crazy, to be honest with you. But I still think Cam Rising is a really good quarterback. Interested to see what he does. I know there's a lot of people talking about Cam Rising, telling him to go get a job. He's been playing college football too long. Well, I'm here to tell you that's his job. That's resume, college football quarterback. When you've been doing it for so damn long, that's what he does. Front runner in the chat, TCU has a 4 to 5 star quarterback as well. Look, man, there is a lot of good quarterback play in this conference. I want to get to House of Heat Sports question before we continue, saying Totri, is the Big 12 football better than the Big 10? Danielle, can we go ahead and put a poll in the chat and just ask people what they think? Is the Big 12 better than the Big 10 when it comes to football? Well, again, I think you got to look at the upper echelon, right? Because we're not talking about who's the deepest conference, the way Brett Yormark says. I agree. I think this conference is really deep. The deepest, maybe. But at the top of this conference, what do you got? Well, you got Utah. You got Kansas. You got Arizona. You got Kansas State. You got Oklahoma State. Right? Am I missing anybody? That's 5 really good teams. 5 really good teams. Okay? Now, Big 10. Well, you got Ohio State. Returns a lot of talent from last season. The best cornerback in the nation, in my personal opinion, in Denzel Burke, back at Ohio State. You look at Michigan. Hey, don't know if you know this. They won the national championship last year. Now, I know Jim Harbaugh is no longer the coach, but Michigan football is still pretty damn good at what they do. Like I said earlier, Oregon is going to be a favorite this season to be in the college football playoff. They're that good. Dan Lanning has this program running like an oiled machine. Rashad Samples, who was at Arizona State, one of the best recruiters in the nation, over at Oregon now. They're reloading, not rebuilding. Washington was in the national championship last season. Now, I know that team looks wildly different with Jed Fish being the head coach now. Michael Penix Jr., Rome Odunze, a lot of those guys no longer there. Washington is still a damn good football team. You got Iowa. Well, they do defense really well, but I don't think that same, college football history textbook that Kenny has on the swinging gate, I'm pretty sure the one in Iowa just ripped out all the pages that told them how to play offense. So they could use that. But overall, they're a pretty good program. Be honest, I think the Big Ten is probably a better conference overall just because the heavy hitters hit a little harder. Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Washington. Oh, my bad. I forgot. USC, UCLA. Now, UCLA, we could say it because there's not Bruin fans don't exist. UCLA sucks. Come on. They absolutely suck. Craig Morgan, of PHNX Sports, he put it best. The LA schools are like the spoiled rich kids that just don't really do anything, right? They've been handed everything, and they just find ways to fuck it up. It's like they've got all the promise in the world, right? Oh, Don't worry, son. I scheduled you an interview with a Fortune 500 company. All you got to do is be there at 8 a.m. What happened the next day? Oh, shit, I forgot. That's exactly what USC and UCLA is. I'd be like, dude, all you had to do was fucking show up. You had the job. You had the gig. That's what the LA schools are. But still, can Lincoln Riley get USC to compete in the Big Ten? Maybe. They got the money to do so. So I don't know. I think overall the Big Ten, in my personal opinion, is better than the Big 12. What does the poll say, Daniel?
We ended at the perfect time. It is 69%
Nice.
Big 12. Nice. And 31 for the Big 10.
For those of you that voted for the Big 12, I would love to hear your opinion on that, on why you think the Big 12 is better than the Big 10. Just give me your thoughts on that. What do you think?
I'm pretty shocked by that.
I am too, but I'm not for the same reason, because we have a lot of Big 12 fans in the chat, so I get that. I understand that.
But I think Donald put it best. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State,
I forgot
Oregon,
about Penn
USC,
State.
Iowa, and let's not forget the team that was in the college football playoff last year, Washington.
Yeah, I forgot about Penn State.
Honestly, I don't think it's particularly close. But
yeah, I think
you know what, Chad? You do you.
We'll see. We'll see. You never know. Things change. Look, the Big 12 could use a really good football season this year. Okay. And we talked about it. The upper echelon of this conference has some talent. I would say probably the Big 12 is deeper. I would agree with that. The Big 12 is a deeper conference, but I think the top level talent in the Big 10 outclasses the top talent in the Big 12.
I don't even think it's that, we're talking about depth. The Big 10 runs 7 deep in potential college football playoff teams.
I would say you got Ohio State.
I mean, I
think Michigan falls off this year. I'm not counting Iowa. Iowa didn't even score a point in the Big Ten championship game. I think Michigan's going to have a little bit of a fall off this year with a new coaching staff. They lost a lot of coaches, lost their DC, lost their strength and conditioning coach. So I think Michigan's going to take a step back. Like we said, Iowa doesn't know how to play offense. They only play defense. Penn State's the biggest tease in college sports. Penn State's like, oh, we're going to be good. And then it's just like midseason. Oh, gotcha. No, we're not. We don't want to be good. We haven't been good since Saquon Barkley was there. Who else? Washington, you still have a lot of question marks. You don't know how that team's going to be with a new coaching staff, a lot of new players. USC, you lose Caleb Williams, and that team went, 7-5 without any sort of defense. And now they lose Caleb Williams. So we'll see. We'll see. I do think the Big Ten, though, is certainly overall probably, again, the top of that conference, I think is better than the Big 12. But you never know. I'll tell you what, the Big 12 is definitely more polarizing. It's more polarizing for sure. And that's because of Deion Coach Prime Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes, for sure, right? BCat in the chat. Big 12 is more entertaining, a lot more parity. And there's a lot more people just that talk. They just talk for no reason. And there's one player in particular who did it again. Did it again. This is Shedeur Sanders at Big 12 Media Day.
It's been that since day one. I remember first media day when I was in HBCU, I said, we won't lose a game. I'm undefeated in the SWAC, so I already know what the expectation comes with. I know where everybody's Super Bowl, so I'm really just I always stay level-headed, stay grounded, because I would never want to be that guy, look back, and not being able to take advantage of the moment that we have right now.
He said stay humble and stay grounded, right? I just want to make sure he said that.
Yeah. Always try to stay grounded.
But they're everybody's Super Bowl. The Colorado Buffaloes are everybody's Super Bowl. Why did they do this on purpose? They're just like, we're going to say some shit and people are going to talk about it. Because it's not true, bro. It's not true. I saw a great quote retweet that was out this morning from that same clip that was like, oh, man, I didn't know Arizona and Utah and Oregon were coming off Super Bowl victories and all these other teams were coming off Super Bowl victories. Listen, man, right now, Colorado is 0-0, just like everybody else in the nation. But if you are going to sit here and say that you are everybody's Super Bowl, my God, you better be able to back that up. And how are you going to back it up? I went undefeated in the SWAC. Brother, really? You went undefeated in the SWAC? Who the fuck plays in the SWAC? Nobody. So then you went to Colorado. What'd you do? You finished last, dude. Last. Standings, last. You were here. You couldn't go any further. You finished last. Your last win came in October against Arizona State. A go-ahead drive at the end to win it in blown coverage. Congratulations. But you haven't done anything as a team. Shedeur Sanders, you are a talented quarterback. You are going to be an NFL quarterback. Your team last year finished the season as follows. 46-43 loss in double overtime to Stanford. You were winning that game. At halftime, 29-0. Stanford was 2-4 on the season. You lost in double overtime. Now, Shedeur Sanders, I said you were a good quarterback. You threw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Your team last year was not good. You're not coming off a Super Bowl victory. You are not a Super Bowl-esque team. You are not even a great team. So after that Stanford loss, did you rebound? Did you find a way to get back on track? No, you lost to UCLA 28-16. Told you earlier in the show about how Arizona State's Kenny Dillingham made Chip Kelly look like a toddler in that game coaching. Okay, back-to-back losses. We get it. UCLA was ranked. You got Oregon State coming to town. What'd you do? We lost that one too. Damn, 26-19. That's tough. Okay, but what about the Arizona Wildcats? They had a pretty good team. You bounced back. Now you lost. 34-31. Washington State, they weren't ranked. Come on, I get it. You had a lot of ranked opponents in a row. So did everybody else in the Pac-12, but you get a bye because you're Shedeur Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes, and everybody just loves to hype you up. So what'd you do against Washington State? You got your ass beat, dude. 56-14. How'd you finish the year? Oh, well, you had to play Utah. They're a good football team. You lost that game too. So you lost Stanford, UCLA, Oregon State, Arizona, Washington State, Utah. Who did you beat? To be sitting here in 2024 saying that you're everybody's Super Bowl? Well, you beat TCU. Welcome home. They're a Big 12 team. They didn't have a very good season last year, but I'll give you that one. You beat them by a field goal on the road. You can have it. Everybody was talking about how you guys are the second coming. You beat the team that got their ass beat in the national championship the year before, but I'll give you TCU. Then you played your rival, Nebraska. Hey, Danielle, can you do me a favor real quick? When was the last time the Nebraska Cornhuskers were good at football?
Oh, it's been a hot minute, huh?
Yeah, it's been, I don't know, half past forever ago. Nebraska wasn't good, but congratulations, you beat Nebraska at home. And then all week long, all I heard, back and forth, Norvell and Deion coach Prime Sanders, they're going back and forth. It's a rivalry game. Norvell said something about Deion's mom. And you won. They had you on the ropes. In that game. It was a good football game. You beat them by 8 points in double overtime. You started the season 3-0. 3-0. And then what happened? Dan Lanning sat up in his chair and said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of everybody thinking that Colorado has what it takes to be a really good football team. Oregon beat you guys so badly that there was zero words to come from your sideline. And that's a mouthy sideline that they have at Colorado. So no, Shedeur, you're not everybody's Super Bowl. this year, we'll see how you do. You're probably going to be a little bit better. Maybe. Shedeur, you're a good player. Travis Hunter's a good player. You still don't have a very good team. And if you didn't know, it takes a team to win in this. Just ask Utah. Ask Oregon. Go ask those top teams in the Big 12. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Again, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed the content today, give the show a follow at PHNX Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony Totri. You can follow Danielle behind the Mac at Danielle across social media. You can follow my two lovely co-hosts who didn't join me today. One at Eric Ruby, that is Eric with a K, and the other Shane Diefenbach at Shane Dief. We'll be right back here Friday, 1:30 for a Friday fun day. But in the meantime, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.